2/3 of Mississippi is covered by forest land, and the state boasts more certified tree farms than any other state in the country. The forestry industry is the second largest commodity in the state, bringing in over $1 billion to the state's economy each year. Of course, forestry industry provides lumber to build our houses and paper for books and writing, but there's a fairly new use for trees in the state. Some of these trees are being made into wood pellets to be used for fuel. A fully grown, mature pine forest takes 25 to 30 years to grow. During that time, smaller, inferior trees are removed from the stand to allow the bigger, healthier trees to flourish. These smaller trees are generally made into pulpwood, but there's a fairly new use for these trees that's helping many Mississippi landowners. Processing these trees into wood pellets gives tree farmers the opportunity to have another market for their wood that they remove from their property.
The market has taken a big dip. Prior to that, International Paper shut down over in Natchez, and the big mill at St. Francisville has been bought, sold, and shut down and reopened 2 or 3 times. Meanwhile, all this old land around here has been growing pulpwood like crazy. Our growth exceeds our cut by almost 2 to 1. And so we desperately needed a market. We needed another customer to put a floor under the market for us.
That customer is Drax Biomass, a company formed in 2011 to support their parent company in the United Kingdom with wood pellets. These wood pellets will be used for power generation to replace coal, lowering their carbon footprint in Europe.
So we have a plant here in Gloucester, Mississippi. We call it Amit Bioenergies. It's named after the county. We have another one in Morehouse Parish, Louisiana, north of Bastrop, Louisiana, called Morehouse Bioenergy LLC. So they're sister plants. So both of these plants that we've located were sited where forest industry had existed and had declined. In the instance of Gloucester, there used to be a large plywood plant here in town that had closed, and also a large paper mill in Natchez, Mississippi had closed in 2003. So it's very much a wood-based economy. The forests are robust, and when those industries exited, it really hurt the local economy and really the forest landowners, because if it's not a working, paying forest, it's hard for a landowner to keep it in production, competing with other uses that are out there. And similarly in Louisiana, there was a paper mill owned by a large paper company that closed, I think in 2009, in Bastrop, the town of Bastrop, and that mill used a couple of million tons of wood a year. So we've actually put plants in places where we're providing a new market or a renewed market for forest thinnings.
The actual making of the wood pellets is a fairly straightforward process, according to the plant engineer.
The trees initially come in on the trucks. We have unbinding racks that are here for the safety of the drivers to make sure that when they're unbinding the trucks, there's no trees or anything that fall off of them. So once the trucks get unbinded, they pull up to the log crane or the 350 that we have that unloads them. From there, we'll either decide whether we want to put them in our log storage, whether we want to put them in the circle, or whether we want to put them straight into the process. So if we put the log straight into the process, we've got a stem deck that basically loads this stem deck up with the amount of logs, and then the log line operator can pull those into the process when they're needed. So the logs get taken into the log line, and we have a debarker there that actually is just a big drum that will beat the logs together and take the bark off of them. So we debark the logs, take the logs through the chipper there. The bark is dropped out of the bottom of the log line and goes up into a storage pile to be used for fuel. The logs go through a chipper. We make what they call a microchip. It's a very small chip, averaging about 3/8. Once it's chipped, we take it over to a chip pile. That pile is there for storage and surge, and we can pull from that pile as we need to, so that we got an automatic system that stacks it and reclaims it. Those chips are then brought in to the process through the wet chip bin, and we go into a dryer. The bark that is then used for the heat for the dryer. So we also have a stacker reclaimer for the bark. It can pull the bark as you need it and stack the bark, all automated. Chips are then put through the dryer. The furnace is just a big open flame furnace, and we pull the heat off of it to dry the chips. The chips are then taken up into another storage bin where we try to let them sit for a little while to cool down and cure, and then we take them through our first stage of hammer milling. We got the 6 primary hammer mills. From there we go into 2 more silos, which is our dry fiber silos. The first stage of hammer milling gets it down about where we want it, and then we screen the material from there, and we have our second stage of hammer mills that ensures we're down to the particle size that we need. From there it goes into the pellet mills. The pellet mills then just compress the wood down into the pellets that we make. They drop out of the bottom of the pellet mills, go into a pellet cooler where they're cooled down before they can be transported up into our silos. The silos here is the last end of the process. We store there, and from there they go into the trucks.
Once the pellets leave the plant, they're shipped to England to generate electricity.
And they take those pellets and they basically run them through a lot of the similar equipment they were using to crush coal and burn coal. And they burn the wood dust to generate power. The power plant has 6 turbines and boilers. 2 of them have been fully converted to biomass, and 1 is at around a 90% rate on biomass burn at this point. So Drax Power generates about 7 to 8% of the UK's energy, and at surge times much more. So it's a pretty significant player on the grid in the United Kingdom. It's a renewable strategy, and it allows the UK power generators and the European power generators who are using pellets from other plants to leave coal in the ground and develop a low carbon energy strategy. The forests of the South are more than robust to sustain current demand and projected future demand. It's just the right thing to do.
While it's great to know that Mississippi lumber is helping produce energy in England, you can't overlook the fact that this pellet mill has been a godsend to the landowners in South Mississippi.
As far as what we're doing in the forest, we're still taking poor, damaged, degraded wood, the worst the forest has to offer, and we're offering a market for it. We just have a different end use. But quite frankly, we're making a great improvement to the environment, right? It's 80% carbon reduction through our power plant, which is tremendous when you look at other alternative green energy solutions. This one is renewable, sustainable. You can plant a forest and keep it growing, and a working forest is always a healthier forest, so it's better for the local economy as well.
Timber business, it's always a mixed bag, but yes, I could not imagine what we would have done in the last year had Drax not been here. There would have been a lot of bankruptcies particularly among the logging forces around here.
The benefits from a healthy, well-managed forest include lower fire risks, faster growth rates, and an increased wildlife habitat. At the end of the day, a healthier forest is simply better for the landowner and the environment.